Stop waiting for your life to change before you change the way you think. That's the trap most people fall into. They wait for the money to come, for the opportunity to appear, for the proof to show up. But here's the truth. Nothing changes on the outside until you change on the inside. Everything you want begins in your mind. Every dream, every goal, every breakthrough. It all starts as a thought, as a belief you decide to hold on to, no matter what your current reality looks like. Think about it. Every millionaire you admire once stood exactly where you are right now. They didn't start with endless resources. They didn't start with guarantees. What they did start with was a decision to think differently, to see themselves differently, to expect more from life. They carried themselves with confidence before the world had any reason to believe in them. They acted as though success was inevitable, long before anyone else could see it. That's the difference. That's the shift. So let me ask you, how do you see yourself? Do you think like someone limited, waiting for life to hand them something? Or do you think like a millionaire, someone who decides, who creates, who leads with vision and confidence? Because the way you see yourself is exactly what life will reflect back to you. If you think small, opportunities shrink. If you think bold, life expands. A millionaire doesn't question whether they belong at the table. They pull up a chair with certainty. They don't look at challenges as walls. They see them as stepping stones. They don't doubt their ability to succeed. They expect it. They claim it. They move as if it's already done. And here's the secret. That way of thinking is available to you right now. You don't have to wait. You don't need permission. You only need to decide. The moment you begin to carry yourself like the person you want to become, your reality begins to shift. People respond differently to you. Opportunities notice you. Life bends to match the story you are telling yourself. That's the power of thought. That's the beginning of transformation. So today, I challenge you, stop thinking like the person you've been and start thinking like the millionaire you are becoming. Think with confidence. Think with certainty. Think with abundance. Because once you shift your mind, your entire world must follow. Wealth begins in the mind. Wealth is not a number in your bank account. Wealth is not the car in your driveway, the house you live in, or the clothes you wear. True wealth begins as an invisible idea, an attitude, a way of thinking that refuses to see limits. The people who rise to extraordinary levels in life are not the ones who wait for evidence. They are the ones who understand that their mind is the soil and their beliefs are the seeds. If the soil is rich and fertile with thoughts of abundance, vision, and possibility, then what grows from it will eventually reflect prosperity in the physical world. But if the soil is poisoned with doubt, fear, and scarcity, no amount of effort will bear fruit that lasts. Every invention, every empire, every fortune the world has ever seen was first imagined in the mind of someone who refused to think small. They saw beyond their current circumstances. They held a picture of success so vividly that the outer world had no choice but to rearrange itself to match that inner conviction. Wealth doesn't begin with the paycheck. It begins with the perspective. Before you can have more, you must think more. Before you can step into abundance, you must see yourself as worthy of it, capable of it, and aligned with it. The truth is, your thoughts are powerful creators. Every belief you carry is like a lens through which you see the world. If your lens is tinted with scarcity, you'll always find proof that there isn't enough. You'll focus on the bills, the debt, the struggle, and you'll convince yourself that opportunities are scarce. But if your lens is shaped by abundance, you'll start noticing doors where others see walls. You'll recognize chances to grow, connections that can elevate you, and ideas that can multiply your value. This is why two people can be placed in the same situation and create completely different results. One sees lack, the other sees opportunity. The difference is not in the world itself. The difference is in the mind. When you begin to understand this, you stop being a victim of circumstances. You realize that it's not about where you come from, what your background is, or even what your current financial situation looks like. It's about the story you are telling yourself every single day. Are you telling yourself that life is unfair, that opportunities are limited, that success is reserved for others? Or are you telling yourself that you are capable, deserving, and destined for something greater? The story you repeat becomes the reality you live. This is why shifting into millionaire thinking is so powerful. A millionaire doesn't dwell on what's missing. They focus on what's possible. They don't let fear dictate their decisions. They let vision guide them. They don't shrink back when faced with obstacles. They expand. They adapt. They find a way through. That mindset is what generates wealth, not just once, but over and over again. You could strip a true millionaire of everything they own, and within years, sometimes even months, they would rebuild it all again. Why? Because their wealth was never in the money. It was in their mind. Their money was just the result of their thinking. So ask yourself, what are you planting in the soil of your mind each day? Are you sowing seeds of abundance, faith, and possibility? Or are you sowing seeds of fear, doubt, and limitation? Every time you choose to believe in yourself, every time you expect good things, every time you visualize your success instead of your failure, you are planting millionaire seeds. And seeds, when nurtured, always grow. Think about how this shows up in everyday situations. When you face a challenge at work, do you see it as the end of the road, or do you treat it as a test that will strengthen you? When you look at your bank account, do you see lack, or do you see a reminder that money flows in and out and that more is always on its way? When someone else succeeds, do you feel jealous and resentful, or do you feel inspired, knowing that their success is proof of what's possible for you too? These small shifts in thought, repeated daily, begin to reprogram your entire reality. Wealth in the mind creates confidence. Confidence attracts people, opportunities, and resources. People want to follow someone who thinks big, who believes in themselves, who exudes certainty. That energy opens doors that others can't even see. When you carry yourself with millionaire thinking, life begins to respond in kind. You'll notice conversations changing. You'll find yourself invited into spaces you once thought were out of reach, and you'll begin to attract circumstances that align with the vision you hold inside. Understand this. You are already creating your future right now with the thoughts you think. Whether you realize it or not, you are planting seeds each day, and those seeds will eventually become your harvest. So the real question is, are you planting weeds or are you planting wealth? The millionaire mindset doesn't wait until everything looks perfect. It doesn't wait for security, for guarantees, or for someone else's permission. It decides, it believes, it claims abundance before the evidence appears. And in time, the evidence always comes. Daily millionaire thinking. Thinking like a millionaire is not about repeating affirmations once in the morning and then slipping back into old habits of doubt for the rest of the day. It's not about putting on a show of confidence for others while secretly carrying fear in your heart. Daily millionaire thinking is about a steady, consistent shift in how you see yourself, how you make decisions, and how you interpret everything that happens around you. It is a practice. It is a discipline. It is the daily choice to act from abundance instead of lack, from vision instead of fear, from confidence instead of hesitation. The way you think each day determines the momentum of your life. Every thought is a step in a direction, and over time, those steps either lead you closer to success or deeper into struggle. That's why the people who rise to wealth and influence are not the ones who simply work harder than everyone else. They are the ones who think differently on a daily basis. They train their minds to respond to life with possibility instead of panic. They walk into situations with the quiet certainty that they belong there, that success is natural for them, that abundance is not a question but a fact. Imagine waking up each morning and choosing to carry the mindset of someone who already has everything you desire. How differently would you move? If you already believed abundance was guaranteed, would you approach opportunities cautiously, second-guessing yourself, or would you step forward boldly and decisively? If you already saw yourself as prosperous, would you shrink in conversations, or would you speak with the assurance that your words carry value? Millionaire thinking is not about waiting for proof. It is about living as if the proof already exists, because when you live from that certainty, the outer world aligns itself to mirror it. Think about how this plays out in the small details of your day. When you pay for something, do you feel a sense of loss, as if money is slipping away from you? Or do you think like a millionaire, recognizing that money is energy, constantly flowing, and that every dollar spent is proof that you are already in motion with abundance? A millionaire doesn't resent the bill they pay. They see it as evidence that they have the power to cover it, that they are operating at a level where money flows in and out freely. That shift in perspective keeps the mind open to more, while a mindset of fear only shuts the flow down. Decision-making is another area where millionaire thinking changes everything. Most people hesitate, waiting for the perfect moment, afraid to make the wrong move. Millionaires know that hesitation costs more than mistakes. They decide quickly, confidently, and they trust themselves to adapt along the way. Daily millionaire thinking means you stop letting fear paralyze you and instead train yourself to act decisively, because action backed by belief creates momentum, and momentum attracts opportunity. The world responds to clarity and confidence. When you move with both, people and possibilities line up in your favor. Expectation is another critical piece. You cannot think like a millionaire if you constantly brace yourself for disappointment. Millionaire thinking expects success the way you expect the sun to rise. It is not a question of if, but when. That expectation shifts how you approach challenges. Instead of seeing obstacles as proof that you should give up, you see them as temporary tests, as stepping stones towards something bigger. Daily millionaire thinking doesn't deny that difficulties exist, but it refuses to give them the power to define the outcome. And then there's the way you carry yourself, body language, tone of voice, the way you walk into a room. All of these communicate to the world who you believe you are. If you carry yourself like someone struggling, unsure, and waiting for permission, that's how the world will treat you. But if you carry yourself like someone who knows they are destined for greatness, someone who belongs at the table, someone who is certain of their own worth, the world cannot help but respond differently. Daily millionaire thinking means embodying prosperity in how you show up, even before the money shows up. This is not about arrogance. It's about alignment. It's about aligning your daily choices, your daily words, your daily actions with the identity of someone who is already wealthy, already successful, already living the life they desire. And here's the truth: identity always wins. You will never rise above the level of the identity you hold in your mind. If you see yourself as limited, your results will always be limited. But if you train yourself day after day to think, feel, and act as a millionaire in every situation, then your identity shifts. And once identity shifts, reality must follow. So each day, practice this way of thinking. Practice assuming abundance even when your current bank account doesn't reflect it. Practice making decisions with confidence even when you don't have every detail figured out. Practice expecting success even when challenges appear. Practice carrying yourself with prosperity, speaking with certainty, and moving through the world as though the future you desire is already here. Because in truth, it already exists in your mind, and your daily thinking is what pulls it into form. Mindset in everyday life. Millionaire thinking is not just something you switch on when you're setting goals, reading books, or listening to motivational talks. The real power of this mindset shows up in the small, ordinary, everyday moments of your life. It is in the way you approach paying your bills, the way you handle setbacks, the way you respond when someone else succeeds, and the way you carry yourself through situations that would normally trigger doubt or frustration. Mindset is not built in theory. It is built in practice, in how you choose to interpret and respond to the things that happen daily. Take something as simple as paying a bill. For many people, this moment triggers stress, worry, and even resentment. They see money leaving, and they immediately attach fear to the process. But when you adopt millionaire thinking, you reframe the entire situation. Instead of seeing lack, you recognize abundance. You recognize that the very fact you are able to pay that bill means you have already generated enough resources to cover it. You view it as proof that you are capable, that money flows to you and through you. You see it as energy in circulation, not as a loss. Millionaires think this way naturally, and when you train your mind to adopt this perspective, every financial interaction becomes an affirmation of prosperity instead of a trigger for worry. Now consider opportunities. In daily life, opportunities rarely arrive in perfect packaging. They come disguised as challenges, unexpected invitations, or even problems that need solving. The average person hesitates, doubts themselves, or talks themselves out of moving forward. But a millionaire thinks differently. When an opportunity presents itself, even if it's not fully formed, even if there are risks involved, the mindset of wealth is to lean forward, not backward. You claim it, you step into it with confidence, you assume it is yours, and by doing so, you often discover that the very act of claiming the opportunity is what turns it into success. This way of thinking becomes second nature when you practice it daily, and over time it creates a reality where opportunities seem to multiply around you. Challenges are another area where everyday mindset makes the difference. Life will test you, that is inevitable, but how you respond is the key. Most people see a challenge and immediately shrink. They see it as proof that things are not working, as a reason to give up. A millionaire, on the other hand, interprets challenges as stepping stones. They recognize that obstacles are not walls, but signals that growth is happening. They lean into the problem with the belief that solutions exist, and that on the other side of the difficulty is expansion, not defeat. This shift in daily perspective transforms how you experience life. Instead of feeling like you're being blocked, you start to feel like you are being guided, prepared, and strengthened for bigger things. Think, too, about how you respond to the success of others. In everyday life, you will constantly see people achieving things you desire, buying the home, building the business, traveling the world, living the dream. The scarcity mindset reacts with jealousy, envy, or the belief that someone else's gain means your loss. But millionaire thinking knows better. A millionaire celebrates the success of others because it serves as evidence that wealth and achievement are possible. They see someone else's breakthrough not as competition, but as confirmation. Daily practice of this mindset means training yourself to be inspired instead of threatened, to say, if they can, so can I. Over time, this creates a mindset of collaboration, attraction, and openness, rather than one of fear and limitation. Even the way you speak in daily conversation reflects your mindset. Do you talk more about problems or possibilities? Do you speak as someone hoping things will work out, or as someone certain that they will? Millionaires use language deliberately. They choose words that align with prosperity, confidence, and vision. They don't waste energy reinforcing lack or doubt with their speech. This is something you can begin practicing in every interaction. Replace self-doubt with certainty. Replace complaints with gratitude. Replace I can't with I will find a way. The words you choose shape the energy you project, and the energy you project shapes the opportunities you attract. Carrying yourself physically is also part of daily mindset. The way you walk, your posture, your tone of voice, these send signals to yourself and to the world about who you believe you are. When you walk slouched, when you avoid eye contact, when you speak softly out of fear of being judged, you communicate that you doubt your own power. But when you carry yourself with confidence, shoulders back, voice steady, eyes forward, you send a completely different message. Millionaire thinking doesn't wait for external success to start showing up confidently. It embodies success in every small action, and by doing so, it accelerates the arrival of external proof. This daily practice of millionaire thinking also transforms how you deal with uncertainty. Most people fear the unknown. They hesitate to take steps unless they can see the entire path ahead. But millionaires know that certainty comes from within, not from circumstances. They train themselves to walk forward in faith, trusting that clarity comes through action. This is a mindset you can apply every day. Instead of freezing when you don't have all the answers, remind yourself that progress creates answers. Move, and the path will reveal itself. At its core, millionaire thinking in daily life is about shifting from reaction to intention. It is about refusing to let circumstances dictate your state of mind, and instead deciding that your state of mind will dictate your circumstances. Every moment becomes an opportunity to practice abundance, confidence, and certainty. Every challenge becomes an invitation to grow. Every success around you becomes proof of what is possible. And with each daily choice to think like a millionaire, you are not only changing your perspective, you are actively building the future you desire. Your new reality begins the moment you decide to think differently. Not tomorrow, not when the bank account grows, not when the opportunity arrives, but right now, in this moment. The shift doesn't wait for proof. It begins in the silence of your own mind, in the choices you make about what to believe, and in the way you choose to carry yourself every single day. Thinking like a millionaire is not about pretending. It is about aligning your inner world with the version of yourself you are destined to become. The moment you accept that you already hold the power, you already carry the seed of greatness, your life starts to bend and shape itself around that truth. Imagine walking into every situation from now on with the awareness that you are not chasing abundance, but embodying it. Picture yourself stepping into conversations, opportunities, and even challenges with the calm confidence of someone who knows the outcome is already decided in their favor. That's the energy that creates momentum. That's the energy people respond to. That's the energy that draws success like a magnet. When you hold yourself as wealthy, successful, and deserving, the world cannot help but mirror back to you what you already know to be true. Your new reality is not a distant dream. It is not a someday fantasy. It is already here, waiting for you to see it. The difference between the life you have now and the life you desire is not time. It is alignment. When your thoughts, your words, and your actions align with the identity of a millionaire, your circumstances must begin to rearrange themselves. Life does not resist conviction. Life responds to it. The stronger your conviction, the faster the shift. That is why some people seem to attract opportunity effortlessly, while others struggle endlessly. It is not about luck. It is about alignment with a new reality. Think about how powerful this is. Every moment you choose to think abundantly, you are literally stepping into a new dimension of possibility. Every time you reject fear and replace it with faith, you strengthen the foundation of your future. Every time you speak with certainty instead of doubt, you broadcast to the world and to yourself that you are already living in that higher version of reality. This repetition builds momentum. Momentum builds identity. And once your identity is set, your reality must match it. You cannot consistently see yourself as wealthy, powerful, and prosperous without life eventually bending to fit that image. Your new reality is also shaped by the way you interpret the events around you. In the past, you may have looked at setbacks as signs that things were against you. From now on, you begin to see them as adjustments, as part of the process of aligning you with greater success. Where you once saw rejection, you now see redirection. Where you once saw obstacles, you now see opportunities for growth. This new way of thinking transforms frustration into fuel, delays into preparation, and challenges into training grounds. Millionaire thinking does not avoid difficulty, it redefines it. And the moment you redefine how you see your world starts to transform before your eyes. Consider how this plays out in your relationships too. Your new reality will attract people who reflect your mindset. As you elevate your thinking, you will notice that conversations change. The people who doubted you may drift away, while those who inspire you will appear. Your energy shifts, and because like attracts like, you naturally begin to align with others who are also living from abundance, confidence, and vision. This is not coincidence. It is proof that your inner reality is actively shaping your outer one. And what about the opportunities that once seemed rare, far away, or reserved for others? In your new reality, you begin to notice them everywhere, because you expect success. You see doors where others see walls. Because you carry yourself with confidence, people begin to trust you, invest in you, and open doors for you. Because you already believe the outcome is secure, you walk boldly into spaces where fear would have once held you back. The opportunities were always there. The shift is that now you can see them. That's what happens when you decide to think like a millionaire. Your new reality is not built on what you currently have. It is built on who you decide to be. Identity always precedes results. When you carry the identity of wealth in your mind, when you make it real in your daily decisions, and when you refuse to compromise that image no matter what, your circumstances eventually have no choice but to match it. This is not theory, it is law. Life is always reflecting who you are being, not who you are wishing to be. That's why the transformation begins the moment you decide to think, act, and move as if your dream is already here. So let this be the moment where you choose differently. Let this be the day you stop waiting and start embodying. Millionaire thinking is not about one big decision. It is about 1,000 small ones, repeated daily until your new reality becomes so obvious that you forget it was ever a choice. And as you live in this new way of thinking, you will look back and realize that the shift wasn't outside of you, it was always within.